Somebody asked me one time, so what is leadership? And you talk about leadership like we all know. What is it then? Here's this picture of it. How would you define it? And there's a lot of great definitions in the book that we've taken from great experts. But it can really boil down to this. Leadership is influence of others in a productive, vision-driven direction that's caused and done through the example and the character of the leader. And you think, well, who is a leader? And there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to talking about leadership. I remember when I first started hearing the word leader, I thought you had to look like Greg Norman. Or you had to be a Hollywood-looking type with long flowing hair in the wind and blood on your sword. But that's not what a leader is. People get scared off by the term leader. That's not what a leader is. A leader is anyone who influences others in a positive direction. A leader is someone who has a picture of what can be and really what should be, and they can't get rid of that thought. And that thought causes them to move in that direction. There's a quote that says, leadership is a planned assault upon the status quo. A leader is someone who cannot stand the fact that what is the way it is. And they have to change it. It can be in big ways, it could be in small ways, and it can be wherever you are. It could be a teenage boy deciding to say no to drugs and take 3 of his friends out of the locker room with him and say, this is stupid, let's get out of here. That could be leadership. It could be a single mom struggling to raise her children in the inner city, and she takes extra jobs and tries to train her children and gets them a mentor and gets them out of there or gets them a good environment. These are all leadership where someone takes a look at something that's wrong, or they see something that should be made more right, and they take action to do it out of the conviction of their character. There's another statement that says leadership is character in motion. This isn't right, or this needs to be made more right, and my character will not allow it to remain so. It must change, and I will take initiative to do something about it, whether I look like Greg Norman or not. That's what a leader is, and it can be anyone. The misnomer is that people think a leader has to be someone in a position of authority, but yet everybody, and this is an important one, this is why the book is relevant, everyone is called to be a leader at some point, and probably many points in the course of their life. Would it make sense to figure out how to be a good one then? If you have children, you're in a position of leadership. If you're married, you're in a position of leadership. If anyone ever cares to listen to anything you ever have to say, you're in a position to influence them and potentially lead them in a certain direction. That's who a leader one is. And everyone is called to be a leader at many points. Why is it relevant? Leadership is the impulse that starts the momentum that advances the changes that happen. You can swim against the current and have control over the changes, or you can ride with the current and let the changes work on you. You can be the person that makes things happen or the person that wondered what happened. From the education of a small child to the formation of a major republic, we have leadership to thank. From our freedom to our technology, we have leadership to thank. From small things to big things, leadership of someone, somewhere, is what we have to thank. It's interesting. Leadership is about making a difference, small or large, in the moment or in the future. And that's why it's relevant. Some people are interested in leadership for the wrong reasons. And you can study history and see in many, many, many instances this is the case. Some people think leadership is attractive because it's power. Some like leadership because they think it offers control. And some like it because of the perks, the status, the chance to be served. But leadership is a bit of a paradox. Certainly there are those elements to leadership. But the life of a leader is a little bit different than that. The life of a leader is a little bit more on the other side of the coin. In actuality, the life of a leader starts with giving power and empowering others. It also involves helping others fix problems and move forward. And finally, it involves serving others. It's almost the opposite of what most people think. If you look at what starts leadership, what Orrin and I talked about that night, sitting up late at night talking about all these issues, it's as if you have reality here. And this is today's reality. And the vision that develops is up here. And that vision for something better, that vision for what should change, that vision for what could be, creates a tension on this reality. There's a tension between it. And as that tension develops, that tension causes something. We call it hunger. In the book, we use the term hunger. Sometimes the word ambition can be taken the wrong way. Power grabber or someone that's selfish or wants personal gain out of proportion to everything else. But the word hunger goes right to the true heart of the matter. You don't control your hunger, do you? When you get hungry for food, you can't really stop it, can you? It's a natural outflow of the physiological conditions of no food in your body. And it's the same thing with the vision of a leader. Once that condition exists, a leader can't shut that off. It exists. Rosa Parks didn't get on that bus that day planning to cause a ruckus. But the vision for what should be, the conviction of her character, kept her in the seat versus the reality of that's not what the rules are on this bus. And that caused a hunger to do the right thing at whatever risk to herself of being arrested. And we can go through history and come up with example after example after example after the example when the vision for something that should be or could be produces a tension against today's actual reality, which results in hunger. But there's another word mixed in here, and it's courage. Courage is not action in spite of fear. Courage is not action without fear, it's action in spite of fear. Even though, there wouldn't be courage without fear. There wouldn't be courage without the concern for the ramifications of your actions, but you do it anyway because it's the right thing. Because the vision's clear, because the tension pulls you from today's reality to what could be. A planned assault on the status quo. This has to change. We have to make a difference here. We've got to sway this. This has to be different. It could be a positive, it could be a negative, but it's something that develops conviction, that brings courage to make something change from today's reality. How do you get this? If we're all called to lead at some point in our life, if we're all called to lead right where we're planted, right with who we are, with what we do, whether it's in your church or wherever it would be, how do you get this hunger? How do you get a clear vision for what should be? Well, it's actually a discipline. It's actually a discipline to be motivated to accomplish great things. Left to our natural selves, we'll be lazy and kind of take the path of least resistance, and we'll put things off to tomorrow. But if there's a true hunger burning for something else, it won't let us rest. We have to go do it. And this is a discipline. In the book, we talk about the 3 levels of motivation. And it's a discipline. It's something that should be worked on. You should run this program in your head. You should think about it and look for it and actively pursue the things that you've been built to do. You see, each of us has been given gifts. Each of us has been given talents, peculiar to us, very unique, and we're supposed to use those to accomplish something. The more we discover that, the more we brush the dirt off of that discovery, that archaeological find, that artifact, the more we clear that away and start to see and reveal, our purpose isn't really determined by us, it's just kind of discovered. And the more we clear that off and get the dirt off there and all the crud that buried it, all the people that say you can't do this and you can't accomplish that, and you can't, who do you think you are? Come on, you're too old. You're too young. You're the wrong gender. You're the wrong religion. You're the wrong color. You come from the wrong side of the tracks. Your daddy wasn't the right guy. You don't have connections. But the more we brush all that dirt off there and we start to discover and find out that we start to see the revelation of what our purpose is. And that's an action. It requires action. It requires a search. It requires a hunt to find out what that is.